Hey guys, it is 420 somewhere, and today we're going to talk about taxes in California and the Department of Justice maybe talking about Biden's view on marijuana. A new budget has come out in California, a new budget proposal from Governor Gavin Newsom. He has come under fire a lot throughout the years, especially recently. He had a recall. He won the election by a landslide, so that seems to be kind of simmered down. But his view on marijuana has been one of advocacy since the beginning. The idea of more and more taxes has kind of just been the carte blanche view on how the government sees marijuana. However, recently it's come under fire because we're seeing a lot of the illicit market kind of come up and find new grounding because of the expense basically of marijuana in the legal market. And a lot of that has to do with the taxes that are on the cultivation side and are also on the retail side. So in order to combat this, in order to combat the illicit market, there is now kind of a compromise that's being waged in the government budget proposal, which would be an elimination of the cultivation tax. And the cultivation tax is one that is usually collected in the farming side of marijuana. People who are purchasing marijuana don't actually see the cultivation tax. However, of course, it's being calculated into the actual purchase cost. So if this were eliminated, the idea around this would be that the overall amount of marijuana would be lowered. More people would find more reason to buy from the legal market because it's cheaper, and the idea of going to the illicit market would be less appealing. I have my just intuitional doubts on that, which is now that people are used to a certain price in the legal market, there's less of a reason to want to lower that price, even if they're getting marijuana cheaper. So I don't see most retailers actually lowering the prices of their marijuana, but maybe it's more complex than I actually understand, and maybe this would actually be the case. And if it would be the case, then yes, of course, this would help combat the illicit market. So hopefully this does happen, and hopefully it would be interesting to see what happens with it. My first thought would be taking away a tax on the actual retail side, so then we specifically see our prices going down. But if this one, there's kind of a middleman here and they can just keep the same price and nobody would know any better, I see just some parts of this maybe not going through as much as they hope. However, this is in the new budget proposal for the Gavin Newsom government, and it needs 2/3 of legislation to back it for it to go into law. So we'll see. It looks like it probably will have that support, and hopefully we'll see this happen and we can see some actual lower prices in marijuana. Second story is a fascinating one because of all of the ramifications and all of what it's actually saying, which is a couple of Minnesota court cases were based around people in the state buying medical marijuana, which is legal there, and wanting workers' compensation to pay for this medical marijuana. They were denied. It went to the state Supreme Court. The state Supreme Court said that federal law, which prohibits medical marijuana, precedes our law. That case was appealed and it's gone up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court went to the executive branch, went to the Department of Justice and asked if they should take on this case. The Department of Justice then wrote back to them saying, we don't think you should take on this case because this is something that seems like it's coming up in the legislative branch and will be solved somewhere else. That in and of itself sounds like a very telling statement. They're saying that this will probably be solved in the legislative branch, in the executive branch, not in the Supreme Court, in the judicial branch. And on first thought, it's like, oh wow, is Department of Justice kind of showing the cards of the Biden administration and showing that he actually would support a legal bill if it came to his desk? And I think that we should kind of put on the brakes at that point, because they're not saying that. They're basically saying that this shouldn't be enacted in the judicial branch because it's much more about federal law. It's a rather political issue that is gaining steam in other places, and it shouldn't get distracted by this Supreme Court decision, which would basically the ramifications of this would mean if the Supreme Court said that the state law is stronger than the federal law, that could then kind of create this entire precedent on so many different categories beyond marijuana. So it definitely seems like something they shouldn't really kind of wade into at this point. And also the second point is the Department of Justice during the Trump administration was very much Trump's Department of Justice, and there was kind of a bridge between the two. However, before that, the precedent of the Department of Justice was that it was a very separate thing from the administration, from the president who was in office. And that's kind of what Joe Biden has been trying to do with the Department of Justice since Trump was in office, trying to get back that kind of invisible wall between the two and not have it be this J. Edgar Hoover-esque agency that is basically the watchdog of the president. That's not how Biden operates his Department of Justice. So I don't think that a letter from the DOJ would mean much about Biden's viewpoints on marijuana. Still, it would be very fascinating to see what the Supreme Court says about this. My guess is they would probably say, yes, federal law precedes the state law, and you cannot get workers' compensation for something that is federally prohibited. And then it would leave it at that, and we'd be back to square one. And those are the two stories today. The Kendrick album came out. There has been so much discussion about it. I would love to hear what you guys think if you listen to it. I listen to it. I actually love it. I think it hits me on a level that is very personal. I love the messiness of it. I love that he's showing his messiness as a person. I think we all have that, and I think to show that, especially somebody who's been put on a pedestal, to show their messiness is very powerful and very worthy of everyone's ears. So check it out if you haven't, and we'll be back on Thursday with some more stories. I'll see you then.